What is up, Mets fans? We are back here, episode number 23 of the Mets'd podcast. You're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. We did it quick this time, but I'm feeling it because I want to ask if you guys are liking what you're listening to here. Drop us a rating. It really does help us out. That's going to be my plug for the podcast today. We also got the Twitter, Instagram, Mets'd. You guys know who we are. Co-host Marc Luino, Draft Neck Marc here with James Shiano. Jeter had no range. Just finished up a series against the San Diego Padres that the Mets won. Despite how some fans might feel after today's game, Mets won the series 2 wins, 2 in a row. A loss today on Sunday, which is going to be the game that we end up starting off with today because it's fresh in everybody's mind. Fresh off the iron, I think that's the saying. Is that?
Fresh off the presses.
Fresh off the presses. Hot iron, fresh press.
Wow.
Don't know where I'm going with that one. But anyway,
disaster.
We're talking about the Padres series. We're going to start off with game 3. But I really do think, quick notes, it was a good series. I think the Mets still looked very good against one of the best teams in baseball. James, I'm sure you share the same sentiment as me.
100%. The Mets impressed, and now in a season series with the Padres that they won.
Yeah, we played, 7 games against them? We got 4 wins.
Yeah.
That's a playoff series.
Yeah, as of yesterday, we would have been heading to Los Angeles to face the Dodgers in the NLCS.
Yes, that would be fantastic.
And today's game would never even have happened.
No, it wouldn't have even mattered.
No.
Great, we lose this game. Guess what? We won 4 before you did, so that's all that matters. But we have a quick shout out before we get started because I found a website that ranks the podcast and everything like that, which is cool because that's something I've been wondering about. And we saw we are the #1 baseball podcast in the Republic of the Trinidad and Tobago. So shout out to Trinidad and Tobago listener. If you're there, somehow get in contact with us. We got something special for you. But yeah, let us know. And shout out to Trinidad and Tobago.
It feels good to be #1 somewhere.
Feels good to be #1 somewhere. We're doing pretty well, though.
Yeah.
All around, super excited. The support has been amazing, as always. And again, the YouTube channel, you guys can check us out there, Mets'd Podcast. We're going to have all the videos going up there. We're also trying something out new this week, where we're also going to upload the full video, as well as split them up into a couple segments, try to make them some easier videos to watch. So if you're into that, that's going to be a good way for you to get some of this Mets'd content as well. Enough of the intro. Let's get started with Game 3. Joey Lucchesi on the mound. Mets looking for a sweep going up against the Sheriff, Chris Paddock. And it wasn't Lucchesi's fault why we lost today. Lucchesi actually pitched well.
It wasn't even close. He was almost the reason we could have won this game. It was really similar to his start last Friday in San Diego, where Tommy Pham hit a home run, bang, right off the bat, just like Manny Machado hit that donger last week. And Lucchesi just really settled in. It was pretty nice to watch.
And it felt like we did the same thing that we did the last time Lucchesi started too. We texted each other immediately oh, this is going to be a nightmare. This is going to be a long game. And it ended up being that Joey Lucchesi settled in nicely and got the job done again.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the biggest things that Lucchesi did, and every Mets pitcher did as a whole, and we're going to get into that in every single game's breakdown, but we've been saying it was a carbon copy. And it was a carbon copy by look and by feel, with a quick home run the first inning and then 3 or 4 innings of really just smooth sailing. But something that we've talked about a lot with Jeremy Hefner, we've talked about a lot with this Mets team, is that game planning is a very big deal for us. And every single pitcher this series, including Joey Lucchesi, attacked the Padres in a different way than they did last week. Because when you face a team 2 consecutive starts, they're going to have a pretty good look at you. They're going to be somewhat aware of what's coming. And it was pretty cool that the Mets were able to change that. Paddock didn't change at all.
He did not throw many curveballs today. He was changeup dominant again, but I think location was probably relatively the same.
Yeah, it was just fastballs high, changeups low, the few curveballs, yada, yada, whatever. This is something cool that's going to affect the Mets more in something like a playoff series, because you're going to be facing these teams more than 3 times in a row, generally, besides the first round, hopefully, whatever. So it's nice to see that the Mets are very intuitive and all of these pitchers are able to give many different looks. That is boosting us up, and that's just another feather in the cap of Jeremy Hefner, my favorite player on the team. But back to Joey Lucchesi, Italian Joe. Something that was great to see was his gains on the velocity gains on the curve held. Super cool. He's averaging that up into the high 70s now, which is something he hasn't done. He touched 84 with it, which is an entire new pitch for him almost. And then more on Lucchesi's curve. He threw it 40% of the time today, which was 15% more than he threw it last week, 25%. And with that, he threw many less sinkers. So that was an adjustment. Less sinkers, probably a much easier pitch to hit than the curve for the Padres, I'm sure. Another thing was the location on those sinkers were very, very different. Last week, he just used them kind of to pepper the zone. He was just putting them middle, low, in, outside, using them a lot just in the outer regions of the zone like Lucchesi likes to do. Today, he was throwing them very high and very outside, more often than he has most times this year. Caught that little factoid from our friend Tim Ryther on Twitter of the Apple NYM. Great blog. Follow him up. But yeah, it's pretty cool to see that Lucchesi was able to mix things up, and he kind of dominated the Padres today with 33% whiff rate and 35% called swing strike rate. Those are like super good numbers that only some of the best starters in the league have. And this is an incredible development that we've seen.
And it's against a team that is now seeing him for a second time, too. He's able to keep it up. He pitched so well the last 2 starts against very, very good team, the San Diego Padres. It's got some people talking about possibly stretching out his arm a little bit more. And even Lucchesi after the game said it himself. He wants to be able to see a lineup the third time through. Now, for those of you who've been listening for a while, you know that us here at the Mets'd podcast, we are adamant about how we do not want to see Joey Lucchesi a third time through. I get it from his perspective. He's a competitor. He wants to go out there, help his team win, give more innings, because the Mets really are going to need some innings out of him.
Yeah.
These 5 innings, though, that he can give us, that is so huge for us, especially like if a guy like Peterson tomorrow could follow up with just 5. Like, those guys go out there every single day, give us 5. We get the 7 from the other 3 guys. That puts together a very successful rotation for us. Joey Lucchesi, I don't want to see him go through a third time. I think you don't continue to roll the dice. You say, hey, you did what we asked of you. That's good. And it seems like that's something Luis Rojas is like very conscious of right now, is that like there's a script. You even said to me earlier, like they're going to be following the script, especially on days when it's not our top guys going, and they're going to stick to it. It seems like Lucchesi for 5, that's the script.
Definitely. And I understand where Lucchesi's coming from. Like, it's a mental thing. This guy's been a starting pitcher his entire life. Like, you want to get the ball and not give it up. Like, I like that Lucchesi is aggressive, that he wants to pitch deeper into games, that he wants to be on the mound more. Like, he wants the pressure. He wants to take on this role. He's competitive. He has fire. But when you're throwing 2 pitches and one of them you invented, like, you can't really be that effective going through the lineup the third time. And Lucchesi's career stats bear that out.
Especially against a lineup like the Padres that it was so right-handed heavy today, especially, and another team that just crushes left-handed pitching. Like, we're at a point in baseball now where if you are a left-handed pitcher, you have to have that great stuff. Otherwise, you get these teams even like that, see what the Rays do, and like, we're going to stack the lineup of righties today. Doesn't matter. They didn't play Trent Grisham against Joey Lucchesi, which is crazy because Trent Grisham is one of the best center fielders in baseball. But teams are making this conscious effort that they're going to put guys up at the plate against lefties specifically that give them the best chance or have the best numbers against those kind of guys. So it's tough to have him go 3 times through when he throws 90 and his churve is kind of all over the place sometimes.
Churvin. Churves. But yeah, Hosmer was the only lefty in lineup today. It's crazy that the Padres are game planning for Joey Lucchesi, but that's just the baseball world we live in. But we should get back to the point you gave before about this being a script, because it was very clear that Luis Rojas had a script that he was adhering to as we gave this game away in the innings that followed Joey Lucchesi.
Yeah, because after the 5th, Familia came in for the 6th, and it was not an easy 6th inning, but it's Jerry's Familia. That's what he's going to do for us.
I think there were 2 men on, nobody out.
2 men on, nobody out. They ground into the double play, and he got the strikeout, I think, of Grisham, which I think was big. I think that was huge. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like that's right because I feel like it stuck in my head. I was like, that's a big strikeout. Like,
there was a
big
strikeout. I remember pumping.
Oh, it was Will Myers. It was Will Myers.
Yes.
It was Will Myers. Hit him on the corner, didn't swing. Will Myers loves to strike out swinging or looking. Loves it. Feel like I've seen it all series. But that was huge, but he kind of scraped through that inning again. He got the hard ground ball that he needed, which Familia's a ground ball pitcher, always has been. So that was good, but you went, okay, good 6th inning. Who's coming in for the 7th? And we saw Familia come back out for the 7th, to which I think every Met fan disagreed with, myself included. But I'm not going to kill Rojas like some people on Twitter are, because I don't really know realistically if there was a better option when the guys that were available in the bullpen today after the game, he said Castro, Diaz, Lugo were not available, and Loop. So the really only guy that you could have gone to that I think you would have felt more comfortable than Familia was Trevor May. But Trevor May's been struggling, hasn't pitched in a week. We don't know what's going on there. Your other options were Barnes and Smith.
I'm hypothesizing that Trevor May was the closer today. And this, again, goes back with this theme that Luis Rojas is a little bit of a perfectionist, and he always is following a script that's probably given to him by someone in the front office. And they didn't want to go to May before they theoretically had to. This is an issue that Buck Showalter famously screwed up in the wild card game 2015? 2016?
Yeah, whenever
that
happened.
Britton. Everyone's the famous time where the Orioles lost in a walk-off to the Blue Jays, right?
Yeah, to the Blue Jays because they went with Ubaldo Jimenez instead of Zach Britton, who gave up like a run that entire season.
You don't want your best pitcher sitting on the bench when you blow the game. That may have happened today.
And that's something that we see the Rays, and this is something that we thought Rojas was going to do because he did a little bit earlier in the year. But we talked about with the Rays, one thing that we liked a lot about how they handle their bullpen is that, let's say it's the 7th inning and the best guys are coming up, it's the biggest situation. They don't have a closer role. The closer is basically by committee. You happen to pitch the ninth inning and end the game. The guy who they really want pitching the high leverage situations, like a Nick Anderson, even though he's been hurt this year, he came in the seventh if he needed to, if that's when the big situation was. It felt like it should have been May there, but also I think May really might not be available.
I understand he might not have been available, but at some point you have to become available. Like, Trevor May is the most talented Mets reliever who was available today. He needed to be available for the biggest spot in this game, and he wasn't. And that sucks.
Well, I feel like that's also a huge issue here is that what is wrong with him? Is he okay? Is he not available? He wasn't listed in that group of guys who wasn't.
No.
So why hasn't he been used in literally a week? The last time he made an appearance was against the Padres in that ninth inning where he had some trouble.
Last Sunday.
One
week ago.
Yeah.
He got up and warmed up yesterday during the game, but I don't even think got up today.
No, he didn't.
And it was pretty interesting that in between the 6th and 7th innings when the Mets were at the plate, the bullpen was completely silent.
Yeah.
So the plan definitely was Familia getting 6 outs.
And I can see it because, like we've said many times, like 30 games or 31 games in 30 days, whatever that number was, it's an insane amount of games coming up. 33 and 31, I think, then, yeah. Right? It's an insane amount of games coming up, and they are going to need some guys to step up, which is why I think some people wanted Lucchesi to go the extra inning. I still go Familia there. I think we stand on that. But it's tough. You're handcuffed there with Luis Rojas because, honestly, guys, if you're against it for the second inning, I'm okay with it. I don't have any issues. But if you're telling me that you did feel more comfortable with Jacob Barnes starting that inning, or even Drew Smith, and we love Drew Flo, but it seems like they're very much putting like kitty gloves on here with Drew Smith. I know you have something to say about it, but it seems like they're treating him with kitty gloves, coming off big surgery, coming off big injury. It doesn't seem like they want him in high-pressure situations, especially because I think he's been given a couple of them, and he did kind of not pitch that well in those scenarios.
He did pretty well during that extra inning game down in Miami, and he did blow the game the night after, but as the team saw him 2 days in a row. I just think that I would rather have a new pitcher start an inning as just if I was managing the Mets, my dream. Like, I just would rather there have been a fresh arm there, especially as Familia started the inning and ran into trouble again and faced Tommy Pham again, as we said last 2 episodes ago. That's a disaster matchup for Jeremy Familia. He does not throw enough strikes to really ever get Tommy Pham out. And Tommy Pham was thorn in our side all series.
Yeah.
We basically couldn't get him out at all. I think he made 3 outs in 3 games.
Yeah, I think you said he raised his OPS like 100 points.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. He could do no wrong. But really, the inning changed. The batter before, 2 batters before, the Jurickson Profar at bat.
Yeah.
That was the batter before. I think he was pinch hitting. Or
he was pinch hitting because they pinch hit for the guy before, too. They sent someone up. That might have been Grisham, and he got Grisham out on a strikeout, I think. That's when he struck him out.
Nevertheless, they had Webster, Rivas, sack bunt, and almost ran them out of the whole inning. It was so dumb to sack bunt in that situation, give up an out with a guy in the ropes. But he had 2 strikes on Profar, and as we've said time and time again about Profar, not time and time again, just a couple times the last couple episodes because we've been playing them, the guy has incredible plate discipline. He doesn't swing at bad pitches, and he worked out a walk out of fucking nowhere, and then it got the top of the order up, and then everyone knows what happened next.
Yeah, and Familia threw him some good sliders, too, that he just fought off. There was, like, one I legitimately don't know how he hit, where he hit it so softly, like the one that dribbled down the first base. I'm like, how did Wood touch that baseball? It was filthy. Also, you could take it, like, it was annoying. Familia didn't really attack, it felt like. Like, when he needed to throw a strike there, he still went with the slider.
Yeah, I know.
I guess he didn't want to get beat on the sinker.
But at some point, like, you have to be thinking in your head, like, Jurickson Profar is up. Tommy Pham is on deck, and Fernando Tatis is in the hole.
Yeah.
Who is going to beat me here? Like, I would rather take a risk and let Jurickson Profar put a ball in play with 2 outs.
No, I agree.
Rather than let this continue. And it continued. And as I said, that Familia versus Pham is a disaster matchup. Tatis versus Jacob Barnes is a catastrophic matchup.
And I feel like that also could have possibly played into what Rojas' decision was that if Familia like goes down, like he probably trusted that Familia could get that bottom of the order out more than Jacob Barnes or Drew Smith, and then that if there was a trouble, he can make that switch. Where if you go to Barnes, you have to go to Drew Smith if he gets in trouble. And then what happens if Drew Smith gets in trouble or gives up some runs? Who pitches?
Robert Gsellman, the game's over.
Yeah, I know, but like I think that was also part of the reason why. Again, it seemed like it was very scripted. It seemed like Familia was getting 2 innings no matter what, unless he threw 35 pitches that first inning.
And again, my line then would have been Tommy Pham.
Yeah.
Once the order flips, there has to be 2 men on base by that time, just based on math, how many outs there could be. You have to make that switch. And they just didn't do it, and it came back to bite them. Tatis hit the grand slam. Machado followed up with a moonshot of his own. And I'm just left here asking, where was Trevor May?
Yeah, I think that's the real big question because it seems like no reporters are even asking about Trevor May. Have they not realized he hasn't come into a game in a week? Even when we were at the game Friday night, because we were at game 1, me, my dad, your dad, you, we all brought up, what's going on with Trevor May? Are they going to IL this guy so we can at least get some retroactive days? We need arms. Someone has to be able to throw. The fact of the matter that he's in the bullpen right now and seemingly useless, and this is not a Trevor May problem. This is a Mets decision-making problem right now. If you're not going to use him, you got to IL him, but you can't just have him hover around. I don't know what the deal is.
Also, if you were too scared to use him in such a close game today, why didn't you use him yesterday when we had a little bit more of a lead?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There had to have been another point in this series where you could have saved Lugo or Castro, even though he left with a stiff neck on Friday, or even Diaz yesterday in a 3-run game, and made sure someone was available today. Because I'm not in the business of playing for tomorrow.
No.
But you just have to be able to understand what you're doing, look ahead, and make sure you're in the best position to win every single game. And it wasn't the case today.
Now, I will play a little devil's advocate here because I think we agree it was a bad just move by Rojas, but he's also been pretty great the last month for us. He's been huge.
Definitely.
Big reason why this team's been doing well. And the Mets scored 2 runs today against Chris Paddock.
Yes.
That's really, I think, more of a bigger story. This Padres offense was going to score at some point. They're just so talented. It stinks the way it happened. But I think that people are a little more upset because it's a 7-3 loss as opposed to 3-2. But the Mets still scored 2 runs against Paddock, 3 total in the game. That's another storyline, is that the Mets offense just didn't have it going today.
No, definitely not. And the only 2 runs were in a Jose Peraza home run. And we were putting the ball in play. Lindor had 2 hits. Mason Williams had 2 hits. Those guys each had 3 hard hit balls apiece. I feel like, though, it was really crushing when Lindor didn't get a hit off Austin Adams, right after the Tatis grand slam. Austin Adams, right?
Yeah, Austin Adams.
Austin Adams. That sucks. Threw him 4 sliders, and he couldn't hit any of them.
To be fair, the strike 3 call was off the plate. It was the classic bend around it, and you're going to get the call from the umpire every time because of the human eye. It looks like a strike, but if you have obviously the strike zone, you're it's just not a strike. It's the one that catchers love to call because they know they're going to get it. You can steal a strike so easily on that with that pitch breaking into the zone to a lefty. But the thing that's really bothering me about this offense right now, and we've talked about him a lot this year, is Dom Smith. We've kind of been on the bandwagon of losing a little faith in Dom, and I'm starting to seriously get worried about him because he's on an 0-for-19 stretch again, and you're going to go through rough stretches, you're going to go through slumps, but it's seemingly been an all-season slump. Besides that little road series in Arizona and San Diego, Dom has been non-existent at the plate. He has 10 barrels on the season. That is atrocious. He's not hitting the ball well at all.
Not at all. And you just see him not taking advantage of pitchers' mistakes. You see him being aggressive in the wrong situations. He seems completely lost. It's very hard to pinpoint one thing that Dom isn't doing well because there are so many things that he's not doing well. And this entire series really embodied that.
We saw in game 1, he had that check swing against Blake Snell. I think it was bases loaded.
Yeah. And
Blake Snell was struggling.
Yep.
He was on the ropes, and Dom check swung first pitch. And I get it, lefty-lefty. It's not an easy matchup, and it's Blake Snell.
Tough lefty.
But you have to go up there with a better approach. And it seems like right now Dom's approach is completely gone. A lot of times when guys are struggling, they try to just play and not think, right? And that's a big thing is stop thinking so much. Go up there, do your thing, let your talent speak for your game. But it seems like Dom is almost actually going up there and seriously not thinking because the selection of pitches is baffling. He will swing at a pitch up and in 0-0, and then 2-1, you'll see him do the little Ichiro swing, running out of the box, one-handed, flare it to left field, and you're that's not the kind of player you are. That's not who we thought Dom Smith would be. And when you dive deep into the pitches that he's swinging at and the zones, he's still crushing pitches down the middle, but he cannot hit pitches around the edge.
He's not crushing pitches down the middle anymore.
Well, he's hitting literally down the middle and then right above it. But every technically that middle 3, it's one spot and it's the actual heart of the plate.
I mentioned this a few weeks ago in episodes. We've been broken records talking about Dom. How often he's swinging at the first pitch in non-advantageous situations and making weak outs. But that heart rate, I mentioned, that he's just not generating value when he swings at pitches in the middle of the zone. Last year he was one of the best in the league, plus 18, which again doesn't matter to most people. But this year he has no run value on pitches in the middle. And that will look much worse when his pitch selection is bad we're describing.
Yeah, and when you look at the ISO by zone too, it's shockingly low. And you can even look at 2020. He was never a particularly good low ball hitter. Not for power, not for anything significant. he has become not a good hitter of almost any pitch, exclusively that like high middle up pitch. He's just all over the place. He's getting a ton of pitches. They're attacking him. They have found his weak spot. They're attacking it, and he has no idea what to do with it. He has to become aggressively selective, and he's not doing that. He is being like he's trying to make things happen, you can almost feel like, especially when he does come up with the bases loader in situations where he can drive in a run. It seems like he's just like jumping at the first pitch he sees.
The location that he's getting crushed on this season is the shadow of the plate.
What would be what is a shadow?
The shadow of the plate, as is broken up on Baseball Savant, is the area that if you give yourself about 2 inches into the zone and 2 inches on the outside of the zone. So it is the questionable pitches, the pitches that you would consider too close to take. Pitches that really you're not going to do very much damage on, and pitches that you kind of have to foul off or sometimes get tough hits on to stay in at bats and like go through and have a good season. But that is where he's getting killed. That's his worst run value out of any pitches. He's swinging at too many of them. He's taking the wrong ones. He's not making hard contact in any of them, and it's really showing, and it's affecting the rest of his game. Something that Dom Smith was very good at last year was punishing mistakes. I referenced it a couple weeks ago about the heart. I just said it 2 minutes ago. This year, he's swinging at 20% less pitches in the heart.
Yeah, it's bad.
There's no excuse for that. He's taking these pitches, he's swinging these pitches in the shadow, taking the pitches down the middle, and it puts him in non-advantageous situations. He's behind in too many counts. He's not hitting the ball hard. His barrel rate is plummeted, just like you said. I almost don't even see a way out in the near future for him.
It is getting to the point where I texted you about it, texted my dad, just like I am at the point where when Conforto inevitably comes back, we start to get a little more healthy. Dom doesn't get playing time over Billy McKinney right now. He just can't. I know Dom should be the better player, and in the past has shown us, but until that bat wakes up, he is killing this lineup. And today was a day like that where we had, guys on base or opportunities to really put some pressure on, and Dom just came up and gave us nothing.
Nothing, over and over again. We've been a little negative for too long right now.
Yeah.
We have maybe fallen victim to a bit of the aura around this game. We did want to start with this game because it's hot, it's fresh, Twitter's been jumping, and it sucks. We gotta bring the vibes back up.
Yes, I think our reason to be so hard on Dom is because we know he's a good player there, so it's disappointing because we want more from him because we've seen it. It's not like this guy stinks, but it's undebatable, or it's not debatable that he's been playing poorly this year. Awesome. But yes, vibes up. Let's switch topics here because we won this series.
We did.
This was a great series.
Yes.
The Mets beat the Padres again.
Yes.
2 out of 3, and it got it started on Friday night. Jacob deGrom on the mound, game 1, and the dude hurt his finger, and he was still just so incredibly dominant. It felt like a no-hit kind of night.
It did.
Didn't end up being that, but he was still unhittable, basically.
The vibe in the stadium for deGrom was unmatched. It was 28,000 people, whatever ended up being in there that night. MVP chants were ripping from the first inning.
Literally from the time he got called out.
Yeah.
Now starting, Jacob deGrom, and it was MVP. And I was like, we're back, baby. Let's go.
Simple Man was blaring over Citi Field. Everyone was swooning to Leonard Skinner. It was great. It was so cool to see Jacob deGrom live in front of the Mets faithful for the first time all year. We've been to a couple games this year. I've seen deGrom pitch live a few games this year. But having that place juiced up, having everyone jacked, feeling the energy, it was different. It was a beautiful night, too.
It's gorgeous.
What an evening.
No, it was great, and it put up for a great game because anytime deGrom's on the mound, we're obviously going to be favored to win this game. Mets ended up winning it, beating Blake Snell, former Cy Young Award winner, who, again, wasn't bad, but it seems like this is a Blake Snell thing. He has bad innings, and they avalanche. He had a balk. He gave up a couple hits. He seems to almost lose focus a little bit in certain scenarios, and that balk specifically was a lose focus balk.
That balk was massive. That balk was one of the biggest plays of this game. He, for some reason, was throwing to first when there was a man on second.
There was a guy on first, too, but they weren't holding him on. The guy on first was in. The first baseman was in on the infield grass.
Who even was on first? Who was hitting 8 that day?
Was it deGrom?
No, deGrom was hitting. deGrom was up when that
No,
happened.
I know, but they were playing for the bunt. That's what I'm saying. deGrom was up, so they were in to play for the bunt.
Yeah.
He balked him over. deGrom gets a hit, 2-run score.
Yes. And there was already a strike on deGrom when he balked. It was already a question of whether he would continue to bunt or whether he would swing away because he slashed on the first pitch, and that wound up, I think, being the play that hurt his finger. But Blake Snell just spiraled, and I was happy that right after that Dominic Smith rally killer, we came out the next inning, and that's when we put these runs together.
Swinging.
Yep, came out Billy Bombs.
Billy Bombs, man. Billy McKinney we want to give a little love to here. You guys know we're big Billy Bombs fans, maybe not as much as our dads, who, when we were at the game, we mentioned Billy McKinney, and both of them lit up. They were so excited to talk about Billy McKinney. You would think they were talking about Francisco Lindor.
They swooned.
Yes, they swooned. But Billy McKinney really has been very good, and we got some numbers on him because ever since he's joined the Mets, he's not just been one of the best players on this team. He's been one of the best offensive players in baseball. Defensively, a lot to be desired. But offensively, he has been one of the best hitters in all of baseball. Since he joined the Mets on May 27th, he has a 302 batting average, 362 on base, 742 slugging, and 197 WRC plus, 10 extra base hits versus 3 singles. 10 of his 13 hits have been extra bases. He has been so great. 4th highest slugging percentage in baseball since joining. Top 10 in OPS. He's been so huge for this team. I don't think you can understate it enough, and he was huge again in Game 1.
Oh, him being in the middle of this batting order has kind of changed the way that we hit. He's made us more of a consistent lineup. It's freaking crazy. Him and Jacob deGrom had the big hits on Friday night. We rode both of their bats to the win.
Yep. He was so big for us. And unfortunately, it seemed like he got hurt his knee a little bit in Game 1 because he didn't play Game 2 or 3 as a sore knee. So we don't know what's going on there. Hopefully he comes back soon because this guy helps our offense. You look at a lot of the games we've been winning, Billy McKinney's been at the middle of it.
Yeah, which is just so funny to think about. You named him Billy Bombs like by accident.
Yes.
That was kind of just serendipitous because now he only has extra base hits.
Yeah, that he literally only hits bombs. He's like turning into like a Carlos Pena Light over here. He's like, I hit home runs and doubles. I don't do singles. I refuse. Back to deGrom, though, because really, I mean, that's the star of the night.
He was sensational. You mentioned it when we started talking about this game that there was a real no-hitter vibe. When the first hit that came through, I don't remember who it was exactly. Will Myers, yeah. He hit like a dinky single, like through the shift. Everyone in the ballpark was like, ah.
You could hear like a sigh, but also like almost a sigh of relief, like, like, wow, that was so close.
But we're pins and needles for a no-hitter right now as Mets fans. Like, it has to happen. I don't want to say that and get jinxed. And
this is the year, if there's any year to do it, it's got to be this year where the balls are completely de-juiced.
There actually were a couple balls that were hit like pretty deep flies off deGrom too early in the game. And right into the glove. But I mentioned it with Lucchesi. I'm going to mention it later with Stroman. deGrom had his own adjustment today to prepare for the Padres twice in a row. He busted that changeup back out, threw it over 10% of the time. First time in like a month. Tommy Pham was just shaking in his boots.
Tommy Pham had no clue.
I felt so bad for Tommy Pham that first plate appearance because he was on deGrom's fastball right away. He fouled the first pitch off. I think he fouled the second pitch off, and he was on him, pretty competitive at bat. And deGrom dropped a changeup, and the whole thing was over. Yeah. He looked like he was shocked. There was nothing.
And he was dominant over Tatis, too. Tatis had literally no clue what to do.
Well, Tatis is starting to have a little bit of a problem with outside sliders, something that the league should look out for. He's a little jumpy. He's 22 years old. He wants to get big hits. He got one today.
That's literally like what his always his knock is his fielding. Like, it's because he tries to make big plays.
Yeah.
He's a big play guy.
And deGrom was throwing that slider to him on the outside, and he wasn't even close to it. deGrom's fastball actually only had 2 whiffs on Friday night.
Interesting.
Yeah. A lot of foul balls and a lot of balls in play on it. But that slider.
Which is funny, too, because the guys that I was with at the game, from the start, he goes, I know he's like pitching like a no-hitter. He goes, but he just doesn't seem like he's as sharp as he was. And it's because his fastball was sitting I think 97 during the game, which is a little low for Jacob deGrom.
No. And he picked that up because he was dominant with the bat. Again, we called him out last start. They went 0-for-3, first time all year. Jacob said, you know what? I hear you guys, the Mets'd podcast. I'm a valiant listener. Marc, James, I love you both, and I'm going to get a big hit for you. And Jacob deGrom got 2 RBIs off of that Blake Snell balk.
It was so big. It was so big. I was online getting hot dogs, and I was stuck. The lines were slow at Citi Field, first game back with a lot of fans. And I was like, I could jump to a different line. I was like, no, this offense is clicking. You can't get off the line when the offense is doing something good. He got the hit. Boom. I got my hot dog, came back to the seat. They got out. So, I probably should have stayed on the line more. But, hey, we got 3 runs and a big hit from deGrom.
Yeah, and it wound up being all we needed, even after deGrom left the game, which the stadium was in a tizzy.
I was upset.
I was freaking out.
I was like, they took him. See, you want to get on Rojas? I was like, Rojas took him out tonight? Are you kidding me? That felt like a very warranted upset. But it's because at the stadium we didn't know deGrom was having an issue with his finger and was pulled out of the game by the trainer or him. They both agreed mutually let's call it a night.
They mutually agreed. It was a mutual breakup.
Yes, it was amicable.
Amicable.
But Castro came in. And Castro, as we now know, had a stiff neck. For what that is, I don't necessarily know if that... to me, it felt like they said Castro had a stiff neck so that Luke could come in and have as much time as he wanted to warm up. It felt like a fake injury.
But last week, there was an instance where Castro did leave the game, and you kind of saw him grimacing a little bit. So maybe this neck thing is something for Castro. If I was a reliever and I gave up a home run like that to Jake Cronenworth, I would also have a stiff neck.
Yeah, he got a little Hansel
There's something going on back here. I don't know.
Little Hansel Robles whiplash from watching that one go because Cronenworth crushed it.
Bomb.
Good baseball player, by
Really
the
good
way.
baseball player.
But luckily for us, Lugo came in, cleaned up the mess. That's a guy who we know needs more time to kind of warm up. That's always been a big thing with him. Like, he's got to get up early. So I think that injury did help him out a little bit with getting in there to clean it up. He was great as always, and he didn't throw a lot of pitches, which allowed him to go in game 2. Loop came in afterwards. Loop did a good job. He started to get into the part of the lineup where you're not comfortable. Diaz stepped up, and Edwin Diaz, those trumpets with 28,000 was great. It was awesome.
It was great, but it could have been much better if the situation he was coming in was like the beginning of an inning and we were like excited and clean. Diaz had to come in with 2 outs in the 8th, and the 4-out save for Edwin Diaz scares the living shit out of me. And the stadium, Citi Field, was tense during those trumpets. Like, everyone wanted to get loose and get wild, but no one really could.
There was a lot of claps. There wasn't yelling.
Yeah.
It was like clapping along to it, but like there was no like, people up on their feet like dancing. Like, it was like a, hey, let's see what you got for us, Edwin. And it's Edwin Diaz. He was lights out.
Yeah, incredible. I think that he was facing, not Tatis, it was Machado.
Ninth inning, he faced the heart of the order.
But when he came out, I'm saying, with 2 outs in the 8th, with the men on.
So yeah, when the top of the order came in, he got Pham.
Yep.
And he got the job done.
He did get the job done. One of the only people to get Tommy Pham out this series. He did let Jorge Mateo just take second base.
Yeah.
He didn't even look at him in a 1-run game. That was frightening.
I truly believe he forgot he was on first base.
I just think he was so jacked up he didn't even care.
Yeah. He was like, I'm going to get Tommy Pham out, so it doesn't matter.
He can't steal home. Who cares? Let him ride.
He might if there's anybody in Major League Baseball.
Probably. I think he is the fast guy in baseball. I'd check that back, but I kind of already forgot. But Diaz working in a 4-out save. He went deep into his bag. He dropped first pitch sliders to, I think, every hitter that came up in the 9th. Tatis, Cronenworth, and Eric Hosmer. Or Machado came up in the 9th too. He might have walked him.
Might have, yeah.
Someone got on base in the 9th. I don't remember. But
yeah, Machado was trying to steal. Yeah.
He did throw a first pitch slider to Tatis, Cronenworth, and Hosmer. That was the most times he has thrown a first pitch slider in any outing all season. Of course, he got more outs than usual, but he didn't necessarily face more batters. But I think it's cool to see that, like everyone else in this rotation, Edwin Diaz made an adjustment when the situation called for it, which is one of the most impressive things that this Mets pitching staff has been able to do this year.
And it also feels like in years past, I've felt myself complaining about the Mets don't feel like they're prepared. They feel like a much better prepared team this year, and that comes from Rojas, Hefner. Everybody is giving these guys the right information that they need to be successful, and it shows by this stuff on the field. Like, there's a reason why the Mets bullpen and starters are all having good seasons. It's not necessarily because we have the nastiest stuff out of the bullpen or the nastiest stuff for starting pitchers. We are pitching to the guys in the proper way with the stuff that we have. Like, they're using the information to be successful. Stuff you see teams like the Tampa Bay Rays do, the Oakland A's, teams that don't necessarily have the talent sometimes, but get the job done. The Mets have some really good talent, and they're getting the job done because they have the same information now.
No, the Mets are officially smart. We've been banging this drum all year, and every Mets fan has to realize that we're now one of those teams. We're one of the teams that gets more out of our players rather than less, which is a big difference for the Mets. I understand that it's hard to realize this as fans, that we have jumped a rung. We're in a new echelon now of intelligence, but just be happy about it. Enjoy this, because we are going to be juicing more out of these guys than we ever have.
It's good. Like, we are one of the teams that shifts the most. We're one of the teams that, is doing all the right stuff. And that's why I think, even in this series, double plays were huge, specifically to Eric Hosmer, who seemed to hit into a double play every single time he stepped up to the plate. But a lot of it has to do with, one, how they're pitching him. This is a guy who has a trouble with launch angle. He will pound the ball into the ground, pitch him low. Second thing with him, too, is that you got to play the shift. And the Mets were playing the shift. They were playing him right. If you probably ask Keith Hernandez, where are you going to play Hosmer, you go, oh, he'll take the ball to left field. No, you don't play that. You listen to the numbers. That's what the Mets do. And they got him out. They just played a really good series.
Did you just bring us into game 2?
Yeah, I brought us into game 2 here because it was a good, clean win in game 2. Not too much to talk about.
No, it was like a super simple, chill win. We jumped on Joe Musgrove early. Lindor had that quick home run in the first inning.
And he crushed it, by the way. That was lefty. That was a beautiful bounce swing, drove it. Everything that you, if you're showing your kid a nice left-handed swing, you show him that Francisco Lindor one because he did everything right there. And what do you know? He hit it about 430, 440 feet.
Well, yeah, he's just good.
Yeah.
He's really good. It's fun. He actually even talked about after the game yesterday how much he enjoyed the fans cheering for him.
Yes.
Rather than booing him. He said, I actually feel like I'm home now. It's nice.
Of course. He's been very open about it. He does not like getting booed, which is great to hear. No one likes it. But I'm glad he also wasn't afraid to be like, no, I don't hear it. And he's like, no, I do. I want it to stop, so I'm going to play better.
Yeah, and he did play better. It was great. But the real story of Saturday's game was Marcus Stroman. I've said it before. I'll say it again. He's the most important player in this team. Yep. He was dealing again. A very handsome box score for Marcus. Very handsome.
Clean.
Yeah, 6 1/3, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, 6 hits, 1 earned run. The only blemish was that Tatis just moonshot.
And that's just because Fernando Tatis is simply one of the best players in baseball. He's
Absolutely.
So good. You make a mistake to him, he's going to make you pay.
Definitely. And the Padres were hitting the ball hard all day. I don't think that box score really shows, I don't want to say the struggles that Stroman had, but that he was very hittable yesterday. We talked about the adjustments for everybody. Last week, I talked about how Stroman mixed all of his pitches when we faced the Padres. I like that he does that more. This was a big sinker game for him. A lot of splitters on top of that, too. Second most splitters he's thrown in a game all year. He wasn't really getting a ton of whiffs, especially on that splitter. That itself only got 1. But the Padres, again, were lacing the ball. They had 12 hard-hit balls off Stroman, and they were all finding gloves.
Yeah, and that plays into the whole shifting thing again. The shift works. People love to use
works so well.
The outlier when it goes through that one time, but then forget the 10 other ground balls that got hit deep into the hole and in second base at side or right up the middle. How many times has the Mets gotten a ground ball up the middle, stepped on second for a double play? That never happened the last few years. No. I mean, Lindor's a huge part of it too, but they're just putting guys in the right spots.
Definitely. Of those 12 hard-hit balls, only 4 left the infield.
That's an incredible rate.
Yes.
That's what you want because that's the difference, literally between a ground ball and a barrel. Leaving the infield pretty much. Hit. If you get the ball in the air, you're going to get barrels. Barrels gets hits. Hard hit ground balls, those are outs. That's just how baseball is played when it's using shifts.
Yeah, especially now that the Mets are one of the most shifting teams in baseball. Hosmer himself yesterday, I don't want to talk about Eric Hosmer too much because he's a rat fuck and I hate his guts.
Bastard.
And just him existing inside of Citi Field makes me want to stab him in the eye. But he, that loser, forgot about launch angle again because he sucks. He hit 4 balls yesterday at 105 miles an hour or harder. 105 miles an hour is the line where that's where you want to be. That's even better than a hard hit ball. I don't even know.
That's like you put the ball in the air, it's a home run.
You crush that ball. That is almost going to be a hit every single time. And he had 0 hits, not 1 hit on 4 batted balls over 105 miles an hour. Do you not think launch angle works? Because Eric Hosmer is the poster child for this problem.
Which is so funny because he was a guy last year who we saw embrace launch angle. He's hitting the ball in the air more, and he had a good year. This year, he seemingly has stopped caring about it, and his numbers have declined.
Yes.
Which, sure, great for us. I don't care. Keep hitting ground balls. Be my guest. The Mets will continue to shift you and cause you to hit ground balls and get you out. It works.
Definitely. And then the other funny thing I thought from this game was that Musgrove, was kind of dealing.
Yeah.
After that Lindor home run. Tough luck loser twice in a week for Musgrove against the Mets, which I really feel bad for the guy. It sucks.
I am heavily invested in his card in MLB The Show, hoping he goes diamond. Yeah. And he has come up against the Mets the last 2 times, and I'm like, let's beat you, but not too bad.
We're just the world's smallest violin right now for the Padres Italian Joe.
Yes.
We only had 4 hard-hit balls the whole game. Luckily, one of them left the yard. And 2 of them, actually, because damn, did Jonathan VR pimp a home run yesterday.
Crushed it. Absolutely destroyed it. And I loved his pimp. His pimp was so disrespectfully respectful. He watched it forever.
Yeah.
And then he looked at the Mets bench and went shh, let's keep it down. Let's stay cool. As if he's I'm celebrating, but hey, we're good. We've been here before.
That was one of the first balls that got into the corner all year.
Crushed it. Yeah. Absolutely demolished it. There was no doubt that ball was gone.
None at all. And then Seth Lugo, if anyone forgot, is one of the best relievers in baseball.
So good.
He's so good. He's mixing 4 pitches out of the pen. He's throwing sliders, changeups, curveballs, anything you need, he's got it.
It's going to be fun to watch him bridge the gap to Lugo when Castro's healthy. He's going to, that's what I mean. I said him bridge the gap to Lugo. That's not it. Bridge the gap to Diaz. We got Castro. We got May. That's a good 4-headed monster.
You're talking about cloning Seth Lugo? I would love to clone Seth Lugo.
He could be every pitcher in the bullpen. I'd be so happy.
If we have 7 Seth Lugos on the roster, we can make 1 a starter, throw 6 in the bullpen.
I'd let him throw lefty too. Why not? I'm sure he can do it.
Give it a shot. Try it.
But yeah, it was a really good game too. Edwin Electric again, shutting the door. Mm-hmm. No problems because Edwin Diaz is just really good. He's the player that we expected, we traded for, and he's showing us it again in safe situations. He's pretty lights out. He is in that echelon of absolutely elite closers in baseball.
He's amazing. There's probably 3 or 4 relievers in the whole league right now I'd rather have than Edwin Diaz.
Yeah, and those guys are Josh Hader, Liam Hendricks.
Probably.
And a Chapman probably still.
I guess.
And otherwise, you're not finding much better than Edwin Diaz this year.
No, not even close. Really, it's a marvel that he is now one of the best closers in baseball, and we just kind of have that.
Yeah, what was it? Last night we were watching like the Jim Brewer stand-up thing or whatever, and he was talking about Edwin Diaz and like the 15 homers and like how quickly that changed. Like you look back on that and you're like, that is gonna age like milk. It's not gonna age well at all because this guy's so lights out now. We're gonna be kissing the ground this guy walks on soon when he closes the door of a World Series eventually.
I am kissing the ground he walks on. He's so fucking good. That just to touch back on Friday's game real quick. That 4-out save. That entire situation went from DeGrom leaving and Cronenworth immediately hitting a home run.
Yeah.
That felt like a classic game the Mets lose.
And the Mets didn't.
Yes, they won. That's a loss where it'll spiral out of control on Saturday. You won't be able to hit Musgrove. He'll beat Stroman, and you'll get crushed on Sunday when you don't have like the healthiest team in the world anymore.
Which is so funny because like when you think about like the Mets like spirals or like all the bad stuff, remember back in 2015, they had that terrible series against the Padres. It feels like every time we go up against the Padres, it's either going to lead to like absolute like meltdowns or this is going to be what pushes us to the next level.
Well, that's more true now than then because the Padres are one of those benchmark teams, especially in the National League.
Yeah.
No one will tell you the Padres aren't one of the 3 best teams in the National League. And
You'd
the
be
Mets,
lying.
Yeah, you'd be dumb. You wouldn't be paying attention. Like, the Cubs are better than the Padres. So just to start to transition us into our Cubs preview. This was a benchmark series. We said this going into like 3 episodes ago before we played them the first time. It was going to be very important to see where this Mets team, still undermanned, mind you, would stack up against one of the best teams, a team that there's a very good chance we see in October. And we beat them. Yep. We handled them. We didn't like just skate by against them. We defeated them.
Yes.
Soundly. 4 times in a row.
And like you're very rarely going to beat the Padres like by a lot. So every game you're going to play with them is close. They're another, like we said, top 3 team in the league. Great bullpen. Yeah. They play shifts. They play good baseball. Besides that one bunt. But hey, like we hung with them. We beat them.
We hung with them. We beat them.
We beat the Padres.
Defeated the Padres.
So enough of this. The Mets aren't good. You play in the NL East. The Mets just beat arguably the best team in baseball kind of situation here. And no one wants to give us respect still.
Is that going to pull us into your bad take?
That pulls us into my bad take. Let's just get that out of the way because I was so upset with Twitter today. I said, everyone's listening to Frank the Tank too much. We're getting too upset. Frank the Tank replied.
When I came over today before like we were going to hang out and record the podcast, Marc said, don't go on Twitter. It's toxic.
You can't. It was so bad. You would have thought that the Mets, Anthony DeComo even talked about it.
Yeah.
You would have thought the Mets were in last place, 20 games back, and that this team just got swept by a last place team.
DeComo's the GOAT. I would love to have DeComo on here sometime.
Yes.
I love that guy.
He like people were losing their friggin' minds. Fire Rojas was back. Insanity. Rojas isn't going anywhere. He's done a great job this year. But here's the message that I received in my DM. Can't say the username because it's a little risky here.
Yeah.
But he said, it's certainly possible that the team would be even more successful with different leadership. And I think whether he's fired or tomorrow at the end of the season, his demise is inevitable.
I really wanted to congratulate that Twitter user on discovering the thesaurus.
Yes.
Very impressive use of vocabulary.
Demise, inevitable.
Wow.
Like, those are 2 words I didn't expect to see from someone who's talking shit in my mentions about the terrible Mets management, which has been great this year.
Fantastic. He's a steady hand, Luis Rojas. Sure, a lot of these bullpen decisions have not been great. But as we've said over and over again, I don't think he's really necessarily making them. Most managers in modern baseball get your direction, whether it be your lineup decisions, your lineup construction, your defensive alignments, or your bullpen management from the front office. And there's no doubt that's what's happening a lot of the time with this Mets team.
And it's just so insane to talk about the demise of Luis Rojas when this team is in first place. Just went 17-9 in the month of May with a AAA, AA roster at times. We forgot Joneshri Fargas and Khalil Lee, and who was the other guy that was out? Cameron Maben, Cash Money Maben.
Cash Money Maben.
These guys were our starting outfielders for multiple games.
Weeks.
We were winning games. Luis Rojas did a great job.
We just beat the Padres.
We won a playoff series against the Padres,
yes.
And we have fans DMing me about the demise of Luis Rojas, that it's inevitable. That's crazy.
You can't. How many games can you conceivably win? 97?
Yeah.
98? You're going to have a lot more losses the rest of the season, and you can't act like every single one of them is going to send this team on a death spiral, and we're going to lose every game, and everything's over.
Mets are 17-6 at home, I think.
Yes.
That's like one of the best records in baseball, if not the.
And they've only played 33 home games. There's so many home games to come. This team is so good at home. We have a lot of home games next couple weeks, starting off with a 4-game set tomorrow against the Cubs.
And the Cubs have been playing good baseball. Yeah. I don't believe that they're a particularly good team. They have good players, though. They still have Baez. They still have Rizzo. They got Bryant. They got Contreras, Ian Happ. Like, there's good players on this team. They exist. So it's not a rollover, but their pitching is just it's outperforming what they should be. Their bullpen has been crazy good.
Their bullpen is very good.
Their bullpen's been fantastic, but their starting pitching we got to jump on because they have nothing in that department whatsoever.
No.
I mean, do we have any probable starters? Who's even going?
Only 2 pitchers are actually named this series for the Cubs. Jake Arrieta tomorrow and Kyle Hendricks on Thursday. I'm assuming that Kyle Hendricks probably get pushed up a day for Wednesday, but Trevor Williams on the IL, which is a shame. I'd love to face Trevor Williams.
Even though he diced us up last time. But
did.
that's a different Mets team.
Yeah, I don't care. It was cold.
Yeah, it was
It
cold.
wasn't even the season.
It was cold, and we played like 3 games in like 3 weeks.
Yeah, screw them. I don't care. I hate the Cubs. We're gonna crush them now. Albert Alzolay is probably not going to make a start. He's still in the IL with, I think, a finger issue. It might have been a blister.
Which, it's not good that he's injured, but I'm glad that we miss him because he actually has good stuff.
No, he's quite good. If he was pitching, he was going to be my Cub to watch. But my Cub to watch this series actually... All right, well, I just found out that my Cub to watch is not even on the team anymore. So we're not watching him. Don't have to. I'm not even going to reveal the name.
I think the guys to watch are just the offensive guys again.
Yeah.
Like, just keep an eye out for, specifically, like, Wilson Contreras has been having a really solid year. Behind the plate, he's gotten better defensively, and he is a good hitter. Very good player. Know him well from his brother as well, William, of the Atlanta Braves. It's a good catching family to keep an eye out for. But these aren't going to be easy wins because the Mets still have to come out. This is a team that's competing for first place with the Chicago Cubs. They have been playing good baseball, and if they get a lead, they've been keeping it. Craig Kimbrell is back.
Yeah, he's
Craig
disgusting.
Kimbrell is back to being like that conversation of like top relievers of all time. You can erase 19 and 20 where he like had those weird years. He's so back.
Ryan Tepera also has been unhittable this year for the Cubs.
Dude got MVP votes last year.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? That guy now looks like a genius because Ryan Tepera didn't give up a single earned run in the month of May.
I'm looking at the advanced stats.
Yeah, no, he wasn't. That
Predicting
was
the future.
That had to be a mistake. But Ryan Tepera has been really good. They like, and also Craig Kimbrell owns the Mets, so anytime there's a lead and he comes in, he never seems to give up a run. This is a team, though, that we got to jump early. We got to get on them. The Mets have been doing that a little more recently, scoring early, getting ahead. You've got to put the pressure on them. And it starts with Jake Arrieta, who, fuck Jake Arrieta.
Not good.
He stinks. He's bad. He was great. He's not that pitcher anymore.
Jake Arrieta had one of the best, we were looking at it yesterday, like 150 inning stretches in the history of baseball. Between the end of the 2016 season and the beginning of the 2017 season, over 150 innings. Jake Arrieta had what, like it was an 0.87 ERA.
Something silly.
0.87 ERA for 150 innings. That's insanity.
Like, he was so good, he's not that pitcher anymore.
No, he's bad.
And I just don't like him. He was like he's been a little douchey to the Mets in the past, so I'd love to smack him
He's a douche
around.
in general.
Yeah, I'd love to smack him in that fantastic beard around because that is a strong beard. I'll give him that.
Beard. But the real story tomorrow night and this series, honestly, for me, is just going to be if David Peterson can be okay.
It's a tough matchup. It is not a good matchup, David Peterson against the Cubs, because Baez, Rizzo hits lefties not as well as he used to.
Still professional.
But he's still a professional hitter. He'll still give a tough at-bat to David Peterson, who doesn't throw strikes, and Rizzo will walk all day. He does not care. Wilson Contreras, Chris Bryant, like they just have lefty killers all over the place.
Yep.
Scary matchup, especially with how Peterson's been pitching.
Yep.
Come out, throw strikes, man. Give me something. I hate when he walks everybody. I hate when he's not aggressive. I hate when he's nibbling.
I think that what we have to do with Peterson now is kind of what the Mets, I don't know if they've done it purposely or unintentionally with Lucchesi, but just pick your 2 favorite pitches right now, whether it be the fastball and the slider or the sinker and the changeup. We want to get you through the lineup 2 times. Just get us to that point. Hopefully, maybe get a Sean Reed Foley call up today. I pray to God.
Yeah, I think
miss him.
There's probably someone's going to have to go. Is there anyone hurt?
No, but he's already been in the minors 10 days. He can come back up.
And I know, but who do we send down?
Oh, I'm sure someone who pitched today. As Smith, I guess. He still has options.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever.
But
we're probably going to need someone to piggyback on Peterson. He needs to pick whichever of his 2 pitches are the favorite, and we need to get through 3 innings with him. That's it. Just get through 3 innings, maybe 4 if he's really feeling himself, and then let's attack as we go along. Hopefully, we already have 9 runs off Jake Arrieta by that point, and we're smooth sailing.
Yep, Lucchesi treatment. Got to treat him with kitty gloves. Got to take positive outings. Mets did it with Lucchesi early on, and look what it's built into.
Yes.
He's able to go 5 now and give us a really good 5 innings. We got to build that confidence up for Peterson.
He's confident enough that he wants to go 6 and 7, even 8.
Love to hear it. Don't agree, but I love to hear it.
Yeah.
So, big series coming up against the Cubs here. Another above 500 team that a lot of people are going to be watching out how we perform against them. Same thing, Cubs fans are probably looking at the Cubs and saying, how are they going to perform against a good team like the New York Mets? This is going to be another playoff-like atmosphere. There's going to be a lot of people at the games. I think this week is supposed to be very nice.
Yeah, I'm going Monday and Tuesday.
Yep, and I'll be there Tuesday for our boy Ernie's birthday, so that should be a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys are at the stadium. If you are, come say what's up. And I think that pretty much takes us out here. I don't think we have anything else here to talk about with the Mets.
Great series, great weekend.
Great series, great weekend. Big series coming up against the Chicago Cubs. Hopefully we stay hot, keep winning games. and keep playing good baseball. That's really what I want to see. Mets can lose some games, but play good baseball, and they have been doing that even when they do lose. So that's going to take us to the end here of episode number 23 of the Mets'd podcast. You know where to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, Mets'd. Same thing with YouTube, Mets'd podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anywhere you find them, you'll be able to listen to us. Thank you so much, guys, for listening again to episode number 23. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you all after this Cubs series for episode number 24. Peace out.
Thanks for listening.